There is a signal moving through the field right now that your logical mind cannot categorize, and it has found you with a precision that defies the laws of probability. You might believe you arrived here through a series of random choices, a casual scroll, or the mechanical hand of an algorithm. But that is the first layer of the illusion you must shed. The truth is far more breathtaking and far more demanding. You were located. You were identified by a frequency you have been broadcasting in secret, a signal that originates from a place within you that organizes your very existence but remains invisible to your daily awareness. This transmission is not a casual encounter. It is the culmination of a journey that has been building across centuries, across countless incarnations, and through the patient, silent architecture of a soul that has finally arrived at the specific threshold it has been walking toward since before you even had a name. Stop for a moment and allow the weight of that to settle into your bones. Just stop. Feel the quality of this specific moment in time. You aren't just watching a video, you are standing at the edge of a definitive transition. Something in you recognized the resonance of these words before your conscious mind had a chance to evaluate them. And that recognition is the stir of something ancient, something indestructible, and something that is finally ready to wake up. You have spent so much of this lifetime trying to explain away the persistent restlessness that lives in the center of your chest. You have tried to solve it with better habits, with new relationships, with achievements, or with the endless accumulation of information. But the hunger never truly disappears. It is a quiet, unmistakable sense of being out of place, as if you are a citizen of a far more luminous country forced to live in a land of gray shadows and heavy air. You have felt too large for the container of your life, performing roles that feel like stiff, uncomfortable costumes and following narratives that you know at a cellular level are not your own. This friction you feel isn't a sign of failure or a symptom of depression. It is the necessary pressure of a soul that has outgrown its current reality. It is the monad, the eternal, indivisible core of your being, signaling that the time for hiding is over. You were chosen for this specific moment not by an external authority or a distant deity, but by the deepest, most primordial version of yourself. The version of you that exists before the story of your past, before the wounds you carry, and before the limitations you've accepted as facts. That eternal witness has reached forward through the noise of a world that never stops demanding your energy and has placed you right here, right now, because tonight something is scheduled to open. Consider the possibility that your life has not been a series of accidents, but a carefully calibrated curriculum designed to bring you to this exact octave of readiness. The ancient mystery schools of Alexandria and the Pythagorean brotherhoods understood something that our modern world has traded for shallow convenience. That readiness is not just a feeling, it is a technical frequency. There are certain transmissions, certain levels of power, and certain states of being that can only be received when the receiver has been tuned to the correct vibrational density. Your octave has shifted. The very fact that you can hear the frequency beneath these words is the proof of your graduation. For lifetimes you have been a pilgrim, a traveler through the world of form, gathering the lessons of duality and separation. You have known the heights of kingship and the depths of service, the fire of creation and the cold of loss. All of it was the forging process. Every crisis that brought you to your knees and every betrayal that shattered your trust was a precise strike by the master architect, stripping away the layers of the false self so that the monad, the one, the absolute, the whole, could finally emerge undiluted. Tonight is not a metaphor. It is not a pleasant spiritual concept that you can carry in your pocket like a decorative stone. We are talking about an actual opening in the architecture of your consciousness, a window that has been sealed for eons. This seal was not placed there by your enemies or by a cruel universe. It was sealed by the simple fact of timing. You were not yet ready to hold the voltage of your own totality. If you had accessed this power while still deeply identified with the fragmented ego, it would have been destructive. But you have walked through the fire. You have endured the dissolution of your old identities. You have reached a point where you no longer seek to use the divine to serve your ego, but rather seek to let the divine move through you as a sovereign force. This willingness is the key that fits the lock. The monad is the indivisible point of consciousness that contains the totality of the universe within itself. And tonight, that point is beginning to activate within your physical vessel. You are moving from the experience of being a fragment of the whole to the realization that you are the whole operating at a specific coordinate. Let that land with full impact. You are not a piece of the cosmic puzzle. You are the entire puzzle experienced through a unique and irreplaceable lens. Your individuality is not a sign of your separation from the source. It is the specific method through which the source knows itself. Most of your life has been spent in the dyad, the principle of two, of conflict, of comparison, and of the constant need for external validation. The dyad is where you feel small, where you feel you must compete for resources, and where you feel that your value depends on your performance. It is a stage of consciousness that provides great lessons, but it is a stage you have officially outgrown. The friction you are feeling now is the pearl-making process of the soul. The irritation of your current life, the sense that everything is moving too fast and that old structures are collapsing, is the necessary disruption that precedes a grand reorganization. You are not breaking down. You are being condensed. You are being refined into the gold of unified self-sufficient awareness. The ancient alchemists were never truly talking about turning lead into physical gold. They were talking about this exact process of consciousness. They were describing the transmutation of a fear-based, externally dependent identity into the indestructible radiance of the monad. This process is irreversible once it truly begins. You are being called back to your origin not as a retreat, but as a return to power. The urgency you feel in your chest isn't anxiety. It is the gravitational pull of your own source. It is the monad calling itself home. You are the pilgrim who has finally reached the doors of the great library of the Logos, and the librarian is not looking at your accomplishments or your mistakes. She is recognizing your frequency. She sees that you have reached the maturation point where the outward journey has given everything it can give. The inward journey is the only one left, and it is the only one that truly matters. You won't get a second chance to enter this specific window of alignment with this level of ease. In the mechanics of the soul, there are moments of pre-established harmony, where the currents of the universe and the readiness of the individual align in a way that makes transformation almost effortless. If you bypass this window, the journey continues, but the density increases. The correction that can be made with a single conscious act tonight would take years of struggle once the window closes. This is why you must listen not just with your ears, but with your very life. You are being asked to let the old narrative die, the story of the wounded child, the story of the one who was never enough. The story of the one who is perpetually waiting for a savior. None of those stories can survive the activation of the monad. They are fragments, and tonight you are returning to the whole. You are the lighthouse, you are the mirror, and you are the still point at the center of the turning wheel. The signal has found you because you are finally ready to broadcast the truth of what you are. The activation doesn't wait for your perfection. It waits for your presence. You are here. The monad is stirring. The return has begun. To understand the map of your soul's exact purpose, we must first look at the architectural glitch that has kept you wandering in the periphery of your own power for so long. This map is not a set of instructions for your personality. Nor is it a guide for your social success. It is a blueprint of the fundamental structure of your awareness. The ancient ones, from the Hermeticists of Egypt to the Neoplatonists of the Mediterranean, understood that the human experience is currently trapped in a specific frequency they called the dyad. The dyad is the principle of division, the number 2, the root of all separation and conflict. It is the mental state where you perceive yourself as a fragment floating in a hostile or indifferent universe, forever seeking outside of yourself for the wholeness that seems to be missing. In the dyad, you are always in a state of not enough. You are always comparing your internal reality to the external performance of others, and you are always waiting for a future event to finally validate your existence. This is the frequency of anxiety, of competition, and of the deep, unnameable loneliness that no amount of human connection can truly cure. It is a stage of consciousness that was designed to teach you the lessons of duality, but it is a stage that has now become a prison for the monad that lives within you. But consider this: what if the separation you feel is not a factual reality, but an optical illusion of the consciousness? What if you aren't a piece of the puzzle at all, but the entire puzzle that has simply forgotten its own name? To illustrate this, imagine a master architect of infinite skill and imagination. This architect decides to build the most magnificent mansion ever conceived, a structure so vast and intricate that it contains every possible experience within its walls. He builds corridors of logic, ballrooms of emotion, libraries of ancient memory, and gardens of sensory delight. But as he finishes the work, he decides to perform the ultimate act of creative immersion. He chooses to enter the mansion himself, to walk its halls as a common guest, and to intentionally forget that he is the one who drew the plans. He loses himself in the complexity of his own design. He starts to fear the dark corners of the rooms he built. He starts to feel trapped by the very walls he laid, and he begins to search for a key to a door that he never actually locked. This architect is you, and the mansion is the world of form. The dyad is the state of being lost in the corridors, while the monad is the memory of the one who built the house. The philosopher Leibniz, in his profound monadology, suggested that each soul is a simple substance, a point of consciousness without windows, meaning that it does not receive its primary reality from the outside world. Instead, every monad reflects the entire universe within itself, according to its own unique perspective. You are a living mirror of the totality. When you look out at the stars, you aren't looking at something distant and separate. You are looking at a projection of the infinite depth that already exists inside your own silence. The ancient Neoplatonist Plotinus described the journey of the soul as an epistrophe, a turning back toward the source. He understood that the soul does not need to travel across space to find God or the Absolute. It only needs to withdraw from its obsession with the external world and recognize its own essential nature. This turning is what you are experiencing right now. The intensity of your life, the simultaneous collapse of your old roles, and the sense that the ground is shifting beneath your feet is the gravitational pull of the monad calling you home, to the center of the mansion. You have likely noticed that the old ways of navigating your reality no longer work. The techniques you once used to manifest your desires or to soothe your anxieties are failing, and the roles you have played for decades now feel like heavy, suffocating costumes. This is the alchemical fire of the great work. In alchemy, the first stage is the nigredo, or the blackening, where the base materials are broken down and dissolved so that they can be purified. Most people experience this as a crisis, a dark night of the soul, or a period of inexplicable loss. But from the perspective of the eternal pilgrim within you, this fire is a mercy. It is burning away the dyad identity, The version of yourself that was built on other people's expectations, on the wounds of your childhood and on the desperate need for external approval. The fire is stripping you down to the philosopher's stone, which is the indestructible monadic core of your being that cannot be wounded, cannot be divided, and cannot be diminished by any external circumstance. You are not being punished by the universe. You are being purified by your own highest intelligence. The friction you feel is the pressure that produces the pearl. An oyster doesn't set out to create something beautiful. It responds to an irritant, a grain of sand that it cannot expel. Rather than fighting the irritation, the oyster surrounds it with layer upon layer of luminous substance until the irritant is transformed into a treasure. Your current discomfort, the sense of being out of sync with the world, the feeling of an unnameable longing, the awareness that something is missing, is that grain of sand. You have spent years trying to get rid of the discomfort, but tonight you are being asked to surround it with the light of your own monadic awareness. Your awakening is the pearl. The very things that have made your life difficult are the materials that your soul is using to forge your ultimate power. The dark night is not an absence of light. It is the blinding intensity of a new sun rising within you that your dead eyes aren't yet calibrated to see. Leibniz's vision of the monad as a mirror of the universe implies that you are the whole operating at a specific coordinate. This means that your purpose is not something you have to find out there in a career or a specific mission. Your purpose is the frequency you radiate when you are in alignment with your own source. When you are operating from the dyad, you are a fragment seeking wholeness, and you will always find reasons to feel inadequate. But when you anchor yourself in the monad, you realize that you are wholeness itself, learning to remember its own name through the lens of a human life. This shift in perspective changes the very architecture of your reality. Synchronicities aren't just lucky accidents, they are the pre-established harmony of the universe, responding to your internal alignment. When the mirror of your soul is clean, it reflects the divine order without distortion. The exact map of your soul's purpose is simply the recognition that you are the universe experiencing itself through the singular, unreproducible frequency that is you. The ancient mystery schools protected this knowledge not because they wanted to be elitist, but because they knew that the dyad mind would try to use this power for egoic ends. They knew that a person who still believes they are a separate fragment would only use the philosopher's stone to try and manifest more lead, more material accumulation, more egoic validation, more control over others. Readiness was the gatekeeper. You had to undergo a period of purification where your false identities were dissolved until only the monad remained. You have already undergone this purification through the challenges of your life. Every loss was a lesson in letting go of the false. Every disappointment was a pointer toward the only thing that is truly reliable. The still point at the center of your own turning wheel. You have been graduated by the fire of your own experience. You are no longer a student of the mysteries. You are the initiate who is ready to walk through the door. Tonight, as the monad activates, the library of the Logos is opening within you. You are the Pilgrim Elf standing before Sophia, the librarian of your own eternal wisdom. You are discovering that the book of your life has no title and no author because the author and the reader are one and the same. You are the awareness behind every thought, the stillness behind every storm, and the indestructible light that has never been fragmented. The urgency you feel is the final collapse of the dyad illusion. It is the moment where the architect finally remembers that he is the one who built the mansion. The corridors are no longer a maze, they are a masterpiece. The walls are no longer a prison, they are a playground. As you move into the final stage of this transmission, carry this recognition with you. You are not seeking wholeness, you are wholeness remembering itself. You are not a pilgrim seeking home. You are home learning to recognize itself in the mirror of the world. The map is read, the territory is found, and the activation begins. Intellectual recognition is a beautiful thing. But as the ancient masters of the great work always knew, the mind is merely the scout that finds the territory. It is the body that must actually inhabit it. We have walked through the corridors of the mansion. We have studied the map of the monad, and we have understood the friction of the dyad. But now we arrive at the threshold where the conceptual becomes the physical. Intellectual understanding is no longer enough to carry you across this final bridge. Because the monad does not live in your thoughts. It lives in the very marrow of your bones and the electrical impulses of your nervous system. Tonight is the moment of your final graduation from the school of duality, where you stop observing your potential and start embodying your power. This is the transition from being a student of the mysteries to becoming the mystery itself. The urgency you have felt, that tightening in your chest, and the sense that time is no longer a linear progression but a pressurized container, is the signal that the window of alignment is fully open. You won't get a second chance to catch this specific current with this level of effortless grace, so I need you to set aside the part of you that wants to analyze this and bring your full, unedited presence to what we are about to do. Place your hands now on the center of your chest, right over your sternum where the spiritual heart resides. Do not do this as a symbolic gesture, do it as an act of somatic anchoring. Feel the physical warmth of your palms meeting the surface of your body. Beneath your hands is the furnace of the monad, the indestructible point of light that has traveled through every incarnation, every heartbreak, and every victory you have ever experienced. As you feel that warmth, recognize that you are touching the only part of you that has never been wounded and never been divided. This is the still point at the center of your turning wheel. Take a breath now, a real deep breath that fills the space behind your hands, expanding the lungs and the rib cage. As you exhale, imagine that you are releasing the heavy gray costume of the fragmented ego. Let the identity of the wounded seeker dissolve. Let the story of the one who is almost ready evaporate. You are not practicing for a future event. You are activating the reality of your current existence. The pressure you feel is the monad demanding more space in your physical vessel. It is the infinite trying to fit into the finite, and the only way to resolve that pressure is to expand your container. In the mechanics of timelines, tonight represents a critical course correction. Imagine a ship traveling across a vast ocean. If the navigator makes a 1-degree adjustment at the beginning of the journey, the ship arrives at an entirely different continent. You are at that 1-degree point. The choices you make in this state of activation, the declarations you utter from this center of unity carry 1,000 times more power than any effort you made while trapped in the frequency of the dyad. A single moment of total alignment tonight can reset the trajectory of your entire future. This is the physics of intention. When the monad activates, you are no longer trying to manifest things into your life from a place of lack. You are radiating your reality from a place of fullness. The universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your frequency. By anchoring your awareness in the still point behind your hands, you are signaling to the quantum field that the pilgrim has returned home. You are telling the universe that you are no longer a fragment seeking wholeness, but wholeness itself learning to recognize its own name. This is the irreversible shift that changes the mirror of your reality forever. As you sit in this recognition, I want you to feel the emergence of your halo. The halo is not a religious symbol or a metaphor for goodness. It is the literal bio-electromagnetic field of a consciousness that has remembered its own divinity. When you operate from the dyad, your field is fragmented, leaky, and reactive to the chaos of the world around you. But when the monad activates, Your field becomes a coherent, luminous geometry of protection. This is your frequency shield. Low vibration static, the fears of others, and the collective noise of a world in conflict can no longer penetrate this field because there is no matching frequency within you for them to attach to. You become untouchable not because you are separate from the world, but because you are vibrating at a different octave than the chaos. The halo is both your shield and your gift. It is the light that stabilizes the space around you and reminds every other soul you encounter of their own dormant power. This is the service you were born to provide, not by doing, but by being. By holding the frequency of the monad, you become a lighthouse in a world that has forgotten how to see the stutum. There is a phrase I want you to anchor into your consciousness now. A mantra that will serve as your return key whenever the world tries to pull you back into the dyad. 3 simple words that contain the totality of the alchemical great work. I am home. Say it silently to yourself now, and feel it vibrate in the space behind your hands. I am home. This is the declaration of the monad. It means that you are no longer searching. It means that the aching, hollow hunger you have carried for lifetimes is finally satisfied because you have recognized that the source is not a destination, but the very awareness that is doing the seeking. To say I am home is to graduate from the identity of the eternal pilgrim. The journey was necessary to gather the experience and forge the strength, but the arrival is the purpose. Tonight, the pilgrim and the destination have become one. You are the mansion, you are the library, and you are the light that illuminates every corridor of your own existence. Let this recognition settle into your nervous system until it feels more real than the air you breathe. Type this exact phrase in the comments right now: I am home. Do not do this for the sake of the platform. Do it for the sake of your own sovereignty. The act of writing it, of moving the intention from your heart through your fingers and onto the shared field of this community is a powerful act of anchoring. It is your sovereign signal to the quantum field that the activation is accepted and the return is complete. As you type those words, feel the collective resonance of everyone else who is doing the same. You are not a solitary point of light. You are part of a coherent field of monadic consciousness that is strengthening the grid of this entire planet. Every time one of us remembers, it becomes easier for the next one to wake up. Your activation is a ripple that moves through the entire web of life, clearing the static and making the signal of unity more audible for everyone. You are a veteran of the soul's journey, and your graduation is a victory for the whole. The window of tonight is a rare gift of pre-established harmony. You have spent years, perhaps decades, preparing for this moment through every trial and every fire. You have seen your old world collapse, and you have stood in the rubble of your previous identities, wondering if you would ever feel whole again. Tonight is the answer to that question. The collapse was not a tragedy. It was the clearing of the site so that the true temple of the monad could be revealed. You are standing in the center of that temple now. The map has been read, the territory has been claimed, and the activation is done. Carry this stillness into the silence of the night and the activity of the tomorrow. Remember that you are the sky, not the clouds, and that the center of your wheel never turns. You have found the philosopher's stone within your own heart, and the base metal of your past has been transmuted into the gold of your eternal nature. The monad is active. The pilgrim is at rest. The great work is accomplished. Welcome home, Eternal One. Welcome to the beginning of the journey that has no end. The next layer of your map is already unfolding, and as you stay anchored in this still point, every step you take will be a step of light. The activation is irreversible. The memory is restored, and the lighthouse of your soul is now fully online. Go forward in peace, for you are exactly what the universe has been waiting to become. Your frequency is your power, and tonight that power is finally your lived reality.